Good day. It is the day after our first major December snowstorm, and I've been going uphill, so I'm a little bit out of breath. I don't know how well you guys can see me since I'm wearing a camouflage sweater. You know, it's probably just a floating head in your screen since I obviously will blend in so well. Anyhow, we are going to be talking about kind of a strange one, sin and Clementines, and how on earth those work together. So anyway, as we go along, we'll have a chat about that. Because you see, last week I got really congested within a few minutes of driving somewhere. More congested than I ever remember being before, interestingly enough, even when sick. But I had no symptoms of any sort of illness, so I was really confused as to what was going on. And since I do have a couple of allergies, and it happened while I was driving, I thought maybe I needed to change the cabin air filter, because I can collect a lot of garbage. And I even tried taking some decongestants, and that didn't work either. So I was pretty confused. But the next day I was fine. So it only lasted a short time and I was fine, but it was very severe while it lasted basically 24 hours, I'll say. Now, the same day, later on in the day, my daughter broke out in hives. So she had hives and I had terrible congestion. And we share, her and I do share some common allergies. I tend to be allergic. Well, I don't tend to be. I am allergic to penicillin. And when I was a child, I had some amoxicillin for something. And I remember it tasted like bananas. And I didn't know what I was allergic to, but I knew it was an antibiotic and I knew it tasted like bananas. So the doctor, I don't know what they thought when I would go in and, are you allergic to anything? Yeah, antibiotics that taste like bananas. But it ended up being amoxicillin. Ooh, got some wind up here. Hopefully that's not too bad on the audio. There's the view, St. Margaret's Bay. And so that's why I'm breathing a little bit heavy, because I just came up quite a bit of elevation. So anyway, as I was saying, I was allergic to I am allergic to amoxicillin. And so I was looking up, let's cut that. Let's get situated here. I've got a little bench that I made here in the trees, and hopefully we don't have too much wind noise. Always carry a butt pad because it's wet. But get that cleaned off. All right. So, where are we at? Where are we at here? So I had broken out in hives before, and my daughter's was then also breaking out in hives. Now, like I said, I was congested. I didn't have any hives this time around, but it was still rather suspicious. So I was sitting at my computer looking up food allergies and things, and if that could somehow translate into hives and everything, and it can. And I knew it must have had to be an allergic reaction of some sort, because she had an allergic reaction and I definitely did, but I didn't know what the source was. So my wife was in the kitchen, and I called her and asked her to take a peek at the box of Clementines, because one of the things that people could be allergic to was citrus, and according to the internet, citrus is something that you can make, we'll call it poor man's apocalypse desperation penicillin, because you don't want to just make penicillin yourself and rub that into a wound on your arm, because there could be other funguses and stuff that are growing on the orange. But oranges and moldy bread, apparently you can get penicillin from that. And so I asked her to take a look at the box of Clementines, and sure enough, she took a look, and the Clementines that you could see at the top were perfect. They peeled perfect. They didn't have those tight, annoying skins that some of them get. They peel perfect and everything. And because I don't eat the orange peel, just like I don't eat banana peels, I tend not to wash my oranges or clementines or bananas, because it seems a little bit, I should, but not a habit I was in. I'm probably going to be washing clementines and other citrus from now on out. Anyhow, she looked into the back corner of the box and found a very fully green, moldy clementine. And it turned out that my daughter and I had each had clementines that morning. The clementines that we had no mold on them. Yet there was a moldy one in the box, spreading its antibiotic little spores all over the place. So it turns out that was the root cause, and my daughter had wicked hives for like 2 days, and I had this terrible congestion for a day and a half, something like that. So how is sin like the clementine? Well, if someone is full of sin, they will tend to taint those around them, especially if those people are willing to go along with it. For instance, we'll go with gossip. There's a couple of things I harp on quite a bit. One of them is gossip, and another one is bitterness. Gossip is very harmful, especially to a group. And if the spores stayed with the one orange or one clementine, it wouldn't have been a problem, but they spread. And you couldn't even see that the others were infected. There was no visible moldy dust on them. It was just the one that was the obvious culprit. But the insidiousness of the spores had already spread. And so if you do have someone who's gossiping, it can stop if everybody else doesn't listen and or rebukes the person for doing it, and that will stop the contamination. However, when it's listened to and passed on, it will affect everyone negatively that it comes into contact with. The other one that I harp on a lot is bitterness, because it affects a lot of people and they affect other people, and it happens all the time. And of course there's a Bible verse about bitterness, and it's in Hebrews. I thought I put it in my notes, but apparently I did not hit the paste button. But basically, bitterness brings everybody down. When one person is affected with it, it causes all sorts of problems around. And a bitter person, at least with me, because I'm rather familiar with bitterness in people. They cannot hide it for very long. They can usually only hide it for a few minutes of conversation, but even then, sometimes it's just written all over their face. Sometimes it's just in their voice, and it's pretty easy to spot when you know some of the signs to look for. And when a bitter person talks with anybody, it's just toxic. And when they walk into a room, they can pretty much just take all the joy out of any group of people with just their presence. It's amazing. There are people that you enjoy being around, and when they come into a room, the whole atmosphere becomes a positive atmosphere. With a bitter person, the opposite happens. It just lowers everybody in the room. And they may not even know that they're doing it. Usually they don't. Most people don't even know that they're bitter. If they know they're bitter, then that adds another dynamic. You work through that, learn to forgive people, and they become much more pleasant to be around. But a bitter person will dwell on the harm that has been done to them, and that's all they can get out of that's all that comes out of them. And every time you're around them, it's just a sinking pit of despair, it seems. And so they basically make everybody else miserable and suck all the joy out and turn the air into poison. Sounds a bit harsh, but that's the reality of it when you're dealing with people that are bitter. And there's a lot of people that are bitter, and there's a lot of people that gossip. So that's why I continue to dive into that. But it really includes all sin, because sin by nature always includes yourself, it includes God, and it includes your neighbor. And it always affects you and God and your neighbor in a very negative way. The relationships in particular. So yeah, the moral of the story is don't be moldy clementines. And if you are, stay away from at least my daughter and I, because we are allergic. So yeah, that's it for today. Have yourself a wonderful day. We have a very active little mouse. There. And his little tracks all over the place. Interesting. All right, there is our speckled Sussex Stan the third. We lost the first stand to a hawk, and the second stand was evil, so he disappeared. I believe that's that's Cream, I believe, and then Chloe, I'm not sure. Kids claim that they know. And back there, who's kind of hiding in the shadow, is Abner. Let's see if we can get him into the light. He's apparently shy, but he's a show quality black show line black Australorp. Anyway, since people keep asking me for updates on my chickens, not on the channel, but face to face, there they are. The two black hens in the back, they don't have names. But anyway, that's them. Next time we'll probably show you the bearded ladies.